Dobrodošli v Stolpu Škrlovec, v Lajerjevi hiši v imenu Bienala tekstilnih umetnosti, ki letos v bistvu začenja na nek način neko novo pot, postaja vsakoleten, večleten in vsakoleten, zahvaljujoč sredstvom Ministrstva za kulturo. Današnji pogovor oziroma predavanje bo potekalo v angleščini, tako da bom kar začela z angleškim jezikom. So welcome in Škrlovec Tower, in Lajerjeva hiša, in the name of Biennial. Textile art is growing big, and I'm really happy I have a very good news that we started to be not just biennial, but also annual, and we're going to continue this every year. Thanks to the funds we got from the Ministry of Culture. I'm super excited to kick off this program with Arianna Moroder from Lottozero. Thank you so much for being here. She and Lottozero are big inspirations for us, and I think everybody in the region that work in textile art and design. So she's going to talk about 10 years of Lottozero and reframing of the heritage, the textile heritage. So I'm really happy to have you here. So please give a round of applause to Arianna.
Thank you, Zala. What a nice introduction. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I just want to say, yeah, being here is an honor. It's very special, and congratulations on the fundings that you're receiving. It's very good to know that the government is supporting such initiatives. Working in the cultural fields, of course, we know how tough it is to get your projects running, to get things going on. So I think you're doing an amazing job, all of you. So thank you for everything. Okay, and I'm here to present our reality and give you a sense of what Lottozero is and what we do, and also give you a little bit of a history, because we're old now. We just turned 10 this year. Doesn't feel that way. It still feels like we're in the beginning of everything, but that's another thing that culture and creative industries, I think we all feel, that you make progress, you grow, you build things, but you're constantly learning, and the growth is ongoing. So even though we've been around for 10 years, you still feel like everything is new and everything is there to be discovered, which is also a good feeling. So, voila. 10 years reframing textile heritage. Yes, it's heritage what brings me here, because just gonna see if I can figure this out. Because we are Lottozero, we are a center for design, art, and textile culture, and we are based in a place where there is an enormous pool of textile history and textile heritage. And this is one direct connection we have to this place here, which is something special to share. This is our mission. For us, from the beginning, it was all about creating a place where people can come together, so a lot about creating community, and a lot about cross-contamination, so bringing together artists, of course, that is for sure one target group we have in common, but then also scientists, designers, researchers, students, but also aged professionals, so also doing cross-generational community building within this environment, which is the textile district of Prato. This is Prato, and yes, if we want to talk about heritage, Prato has a really long history in textiles. I really hope you have the chance to come visit it and visit the Textile Museum, and you will learn that Prato has been producing textiles since the Middle Ages, and probably even previous to that, and since then has remained a textile hub, and we still have thousands of textile companies operating in the field. So yes, a thriving industry, surely as it is a place, a cluster of industrial production, it has gone through a lot of ups and downs in history. right now is also not the easiest moment, but it's an extremely interesting place where a lot of resilience and a lot of inventive people work. And that is how Prato came to this idea of reusing raw materials. It was a very resourceful aspect of work and a way to improve the potentialities of the income of the money which could be earned. The idea of moving away from new raw materials and trying to reintegrate used materials. Now we call it, we could call it like post-industrial waste or pre-consumer waste or post-consumer waste, all these materials that we're talking about a lot now, reintegrating them into the productive process in order to save money, save resources, and just in general have a more efficient and effective production system. This has been happening for more than 150 years in Prato, and it really comes out of the idea of just being more strategic and resourceful, which I feel is very much part of the identity of the place. So how can we improve? How can we invent new things? How can we push ourselves when the district maybe is going through hardships and hard times? So this idea of going from rags to fashion is very much part of the cultural heritage in Prato. The technique of recycling wool is very much a tradition in Prato. It's not at all a new thing. It's a mechanical recycling process which doesn't really employ any chemicals at all and is very advantageous because it allows for saving a lot of water, saving energy, saving, of course, new raw materials, but also saving colors. Because what has been done in Prato by hand for this whole time is the manual separation of the discarded wool. So we still have a lot of places where people manually separate usually post-consumer waste by fiber type and by color. And this, well, you can see it really becomes part of a vernacular, of a culture, of a collective memory, and it's something that is very much ingrained in the people of this place. So it really belongs to the place and creates a local identity. Everyone in Prato identifies with the story or has a relative or a friend or a family member who, in a way, is connected to textile manufacturing. And this makes it not just an industry, but it really makes it almost a way of life, a cultural thing, a societal glue somehow. So I find this is something we can reflect together about, also thinking of Kran and the history of the textile production. What I got to learn in these days by going to the museum and looking at the archives is that we have these points in common and that these are some aspects that we can definitely work on and collaborate together. So these are just a few images that really show you some insights into this very old way of working that is still applied, is still done in Prato. This is also wonderful for us because we are in a territory where there is still a lot of live know-how. So we still have people who know how to make things and they know the history of these processes. And it becomes like a living wealth, a living archive of information and possibilities that become a huge resource for us. Ecco, in the end, spinning carded yarns is a very important part of the process because that is how the recycled wool comes into life again. So out of the mechanically shredded fibers, carded yarns are spun again. Carded yarns that are then used to make like knitted garments or like heavier wool coats, for example, just so you have an idea of the typical product of Prato. Nowadays, of course, we have a few companies that were able to really use this tradition in order to create a recognizable identity. One of the most famous companies is called Manteco. They have risen to world fame, I would say, in the textile sector. They are very well known. And they were really able to take this heritage, take this history, and transform it into something very valuable in the modern days, or let's say in today's market, as they promote themselves with this angle that they are a very sustainable company that's working on the highest levels on saving resources, saving energy, and recycling materials in a mechanic way. But the product that they make, of course, is a product that in Prato is traditional. So a lot of companies work like this. Right, this is a little bit the context in which we are. This is the space of Lottozero before we started our business. So this was how our space looked 10 years ago. And I show you this to jump into like a history, a personal history, a personal heritage. And also the idea of space and regenerating space is very much connected to our activity. Another line that I see as a red line connected also to Kran, if we look at the architecture, if we look at the history, at the fact that this is such an old town, it immediately clicks how the spaces that we inhabit and the spaces that communities activate are very much an important tool to make value out of this history, out of this shared heritage that we have. So these are like before and after pictures of our space. This is a more recent rendition. So our space is a warehouse of 400 square meters, which we refurbished in 2016. Yes, in 2016, and now is a shared workspace, which integrates itself perfectly into the urban geography. So this is a typical architecture of the city of Prato. This is the context that we live in. The warehouses are from different time periods because industrial production in Prato has been so articulated throughout the years. So we have warehouses from the late 1800s, warehouses from the 50s and 60s, from the 80s, 90s, and of course new buildings as well. But these that you see here are typical constructions of the 1960s, just like our space, Lottozero. For us, coming outside, from outside of Prato, my sister, who is the co-founder of Lottozero, and I, we grew up in the north of Italy, but we are connected through family to this place. It was a real discovery to become part of this local community. So for us, the first step was to connect to the heritage of the city, not just in order to create a network with this industrial heritage, but also really feel into the city and what it means to be part of a community and to live in the city. So when we started, we did a Kickstarter campaign, and the gifts that we had developed, I mean, it was 10 years ago. I don't know if anyone has looked up any crowdfunding in the past, but this 10 years ago it was really happening. So we designed these scarves that were inspired by the ornaments and the architecture of the Dome of Prato. And for us, it was like a first statement and a first declaration that we really want to come to this place and we want to be part of the local community and learn to be in this place. So fully also be aware of a context, city life, and what it means to exist in this place. This is another scarf that we made inspired by these motifs. I think it was, from this point of view, it was quite successful because the people of Prato, they had never seen us before. They could just tell by our accent that we're not from there. But they could recognize all these motifs, almost read them like a map. And in a way, it was a way to to connect to them and show, okay, we really want to be here, we love this place, we want to create value here in this city. This was another example. We invited some designers who are friends of ours to contribute with some designs as well, and we did the photo shoot in the warehouse before we started refurbishing it. And this was our neighbor's daughter, so she modeled for us. Right, and this was the beginning of a long series of projects that involved the use of archives and the use of heritage materials. So this became quite important for us. Next thing that happened right at the beginning, the museum luckily hired us, and the museum in Prato is mainly the textile museum. So we have a textile museum. They hired us to develop a workshop where we were bringing a group of let's say a mixed group of people working in the creative industries to spend, I think it was 3 days in the museum, and research. There was an exhibition going on about art and textiles, where they were showing textiles designed by modernist Italian artists in the 1950s. So using these pieces as a starting point for new projects. And this is when we developed our workshop on heritage and on textile collections. It's the same workshop pretty much in a different, let's say slightly different iteration that we held here today with the group. I was lucky enough to win the open call that Bien launched about patterns and about print design. So this was the kickoff for this group today. Then the museum hired us to work on a European project called Creative Wear, where again it was all about taking on heritage materials from the archive and having designers give new interpretations in their preferred mediums. So it was never so specified what the output would be. For us, it was more important to really connect the creative scene to these archival materials and show that there is an endless pool of ideas that are just waiting to be explored and discovered within the archives of our museums and collections. We also did our first residencies through the collaboration with the Textile Museum and the work with the archive. So we had an open call for textile designers, and it was in 2017. We had 60 applications, which for us was a huge success in our early days. And we were able to invite 4 designers to come, for each of them to come for 2 weeks. Each of them had the opportunity to collaborate with a company of the textile district and the textile museum. And these are just a few images of those days. Voila. Again, archive has become more and more significant in the arch of these 10 years. In fact, we've seen in Prato alone, many of the textile companies have made huge investments in order to showcase their archives, in order to, let's say, rehabilitate sometimes their archives, or digitalize their archives. These 3 steps have been incredibly important, and we have seen a lot happening also through the support of the Textile Museum. This is the archive of Manteco. They surely have one of the nicest, but many companies have put a lot of effort into preserving the materials and showcasing them in a way that is more open, that is more functional, and that is more productive in a way. Traceability and branding, yes, these are themes that in Prato we see a lot. Again, we still have a lot of existing working companies, so the archiving is happening out of a very specific goal. It's not just a historical archiving, it's really something that is oriented to the business and to the possibility to have a product that is really very transparent from the ideation to the actual final production. Now, here is the example of Zara. Mantejo has a long-standing collaboration with Zara where they produce wool for coats out of the classic recycled wool of Prato. And they started to integrate tags that basically give more information about the textile and not just the brand of not just the fashion brand, but also the textile. This is a small step in a very good direction, which is to highlight textile manufacturers and bring them again to the forefront or to a more visible place where the final client is not just aware of the name of the fashion brand, but also starts to learn more about all the ingredients that go in the garments. Very important. We are looking at a future where we will have digital passports in all our garments, so it will become more and more significant to know where do the materials come from that our clothes are made of. So back to our hub. This is again Lottozero. This is our team. For now we are 6, actually now we're 7 people, but luckily we are growing, so I hope we will be able to expand our team in the future. Everyone has their own role within the space, so for example, we have an exhibition space and we have a whole part that is the program around art, and Alessandra, she's the curator. She's in charge of all the part regarding arts and artists, research, exhibitions, etc. We are also an event space where we hold different types of events. Of course, textiles are always at the center in everything we do. So we like to involve different kinds of public. And we have a lab, which has been open since 2018, but it's, as many of you might know, a lab is always a work in progress. So we keep adding on tools and elements to our textile lab. And we hold workshops and we do several educational activities in there. And yeah, every year we try to bring something new and something more to our public, to our community. Of course, we are in a specific place, but we're very lucky that people come to us, take the journey on, even though, I mean, we're not as accessible as maybe spaces within larger cities or within capitals. So we are a little bit in the province, let's say. These are some of the techniques that we offer. This is, for example, a new machine that we have since last year, Feldloom, that allows to create non-woven materials and allows also to reuse a lot of waste. So it's quite nice. We can create our own non-woven fabrics from the waste that maybe is created in the work within the lab. Here are some more traditional tools, which is also something to include when we talk about heritage. So how do we combine the use of manual, artisanal, sometimes quite old machinery? How do we keep this kind of knowledge alive to the use of older machinery? And how do we cross it and combine it with more contemporary techniques? So these are some examples. I put Tia Ansel in the slides because she was also doing a residency in Ljubljana. She went to Center Rog for a weaving residency, I think just last year. She was with us, I don't really remember anymore, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. She's from Australia. She did a weaving residency, only weaving for 5 weeks on our handloom. Susanna, she's Polish. She came to us after she graduated from Borås in Sweden. She won a 1-week residency, which we give as a prize to a graduate student from Borås every year. And this was before she moved back to Warsaw, where she became then a freelance textile designer. And she was also mostly experimenting on the large countermarch loom. These are some digital tools that we acquired fairly recently. And this is what I was saying before. So this combination of the old crafts and the new tools that are being developed now and that are still quite experimental. This is what we really are interested in researching these areas between technology and technological innovation, but also this very traditional art of making and know-how that is passed on usually from person to person. Yeah, these are just some more examples of the digital tools. Another example of a resident who came after graduating from Boros. In this case, Malis, she worked with the tufting gun and she created this piece. Now she works in a company that produces textiles for upholstery in France. So you can see there are a lot of different tools, there are a lot of different materials. There is the desire to incorporate traditional techniques. In this case, we have block printing, and we have a technique that is very specific to central Italy, and it's printing with rust. So it's a very old technique where we create ink out of rust, and then we use it to do block printing. This kind of traditional artisanal things combined with a sense of constant experimentation and trying new things and exploring. This is exactly what we want to promote in our lab and what we are trying to help as many people as possible to do at Lottozero. On Color Studio, for example, they came for a residency to use the screens in our screen printing table, and they developed inks that are fully biodegradable. So they were working on the chemistry of printing inks. This was part of their graduation project. They studied in the Eindhoven Academy of Design, and they needed a place to do larger testing because in the academy they only have small screen printing, so they really wanted to try out on a larger scale. So for 2 weeks they came to Prato and they used our big table to test and to try if the screen printing inks actually worked. And this was the results of their 2-week residency with us. Right, and this is the work that we do as design studio. We also consult and design. This happens kind of naturally, having the textile district around us, having a lot of opportunities, having the lab, having all these information. So there is a high density of knowledge, skills, and processes that are happening all around us. So kind of comes almost, easily in a way to help and facilitate production of textiles. We do this for designers, for brands, a lot for artists also. We help artists produce or get their work produced, but we also help do research and development. We help do sourcing of materials, and we connect designers with manufacturers, with knowledge, with expertise and know-how. So that's a big part of our work, to create these connections. These are examples of consultancies we did. These fabrics were produced in Prato, in a jacquard weaving mill for a Danish designer, for example. Or we have other like coat fabrics. This was a designer from the Netherlands, made out of recycled wool of Prato, but then of course a design that is not very typical to the Prato district, which is a nice contrast. In the other image we used this space dyeing technique in a dyeing mill to create yarn for a Swiss designer. So you see, it's very specific things that we try to get done through the industry of Prato. Of course, it's not easy because these are small clients, but we really try to push the companies to invest in these small designers and experimentation, and to really do something new also for them, to see what happens if they try new things. Another project we're working on is this project about rustic wools. I think we'll hear some talks about rustic wools tomorrow. So the use of local wools as a valid raw material. This is a big project in itself, and it's also something we've been working on ever since we opened the space. So it's kind of running in parallel with our other activities. We were lucky enough to be able to present carpets that we made with the rustic wool at last year's Dutch Design Week. So that was kind of also a full circle moment after 10 years of research and development, coming out with a product that can actually be produced, marketed, and sold as well. This is another thing that we do. We provide designers and clients with the possibility to tour the district. We also do this for students, for groups. We try to connect as well as possible to the needs that the specific people have. So let's say a group of artists comes visit, we try to connect them with the right techniques or with the right interests that they might have, since there is so much to see in Prato. Yes, teaching and mentoring. So you see it all flows together, like all these activities, they kind of bounce off each other and nourish each other and coexist in one space. That for us is very important, that all these people and all these interests around textiles come together and meet. We have worked a lot with archives online, especially during the pandemic. We were lucky we could receive a funding to kind of make our workshop online compatible. So what we have done so far in the museums or in the spaces where there are physical archives, we translated it into online classes. And it was a good time because, I mean, COVID was not a good time, but it was a good time to digitalize and to kind of work with digitalized content, because a lot of museums and a lot of collections started to do this and actively are still doing it today. So now we have a huge wealth of websites, collections that we can use, and this is also something we teach in our workshops. If you don't have these lovely archives in the museum, or if you don't have the opportunity to visit a collection, there is so much material online and it's very easily accessible. This is another project that was all about the use of archives to create new designs. This was also happening more or less during the pandemic. These are some of the digitalized archives I was telling you about. These were also for us a good inspiration. We also did a domestica class on the use of archives, which is always kind of built around this first workshop that we did at the Textile Museum that became a model that we replicated and we brought to different schools and different environments. This is our in-house archive. We have some beautiful archival materials, of which I brought a few examples. They are on the table there in the back. It's just a few pieces. We have a lot of them, but that was all I could carry. And I wanted to bring this for the people, especially for the people who took the workshop today, so that they would have a comparison between what they see here and what they can see here, and something just completely different from a different place, just to get a sense that every archive is different and has a very different setup. And these are some materials that we also used last year when we did a residency with the artist Lieselore Frohlein. She came to Prato for a month to work with textile techniques of various kinds. And we were able to provide her some textiles from the company that gave us their archive, so old textiles that she then used in her creations. She was very productive in this time. She developed a huge body of work in a month, and we had an exhibition, since it was so much connected to the cultural heritage of Prato and these archival materials that we were able to to give to her. So it was all very much about the experience around textiles, around Prato and the textile district. These are just some more images. These are some pieces she wove. And even on her work, you can see there is an image of the facade of the dome of Prato. So it really keeps unfolding and reoccurring. Some other pieces from the exhibition. And this exhibition was part of a cycle of exhibitions that we are about to finish now. Now we are in the last one. We are seeing Daniela De Lorenzo at the moment. And these are all on the topic of soft sculpture. So this was the topic that we treated in the past 1.5 years as a kind of large general topic under which a lot of activities were happening. A little bit like here at Bien, where you have like biennial topics so far. Maybe now there will be yearly, who knows? We tried to widen it up a little bit in order to have a larger container and put more projects into this one theme. Finally, another kind of archive that has been created through the work, especially the work of Alessandra. So the part that is working on art, contemporary art, is the Textile Culture Net. Textile Culture Net is a consortium, maybe we could say, yes, of 4 institutions, of which we are the smallest one. So Lottozero, the Textile Museum of Tilburg, the Textile Museum of Łódź, and CHAT, Center for Heritage, Art and Textiles in Hong Kong. We created this cluster. It also happened during the pandemic. And we were posting online exhibitions. So it started during the lockdown with an online exhibition. And since 2020, every year we have posted 4 online exhibitions that are all about textiles and art. And finally, last year, thanks to a Creative Europe project, we could group everything together into an actual physical archive and publish a book that collects all these artists, all these exhibitions, and all the experience that was made over the past 4 years. So bringing what has been online, what has been accessible from all the places of the world, from all our community, back to a physical object. Of course, we like physical objects that collects all of this knowledge and all of this information, like a repository of artists that work with textiles in this specific moment in time. I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit long. I realize it now. I wanted to put in a lot of themes around archives and kind of cover the arch of 10 years, but bear with me. These are the last 2 things I want to show you. On Weaving was a cycle of exhibitions that we did before soft sculpture, and here the name is self-explanatory, of course. We were working mainly with Italian artists of different generations and with very different skills and interests. But I want to show you the work of Graziella Guidotti. She is an amazing weaver, designer, and artist who is based in Florence. And I think she just turned 90, so she has a long, long experience. She was designing textiles for some of the coolest product design companies in the 70s that were based around Florence. One of them that you maybe know is Poltronova, which was a company that developed a lot of iconic pieces of furniture. And she was a teacher for all her life. She's still teaching, so if anyone wants to come to Florence and learn some weaving with her, I am sure she's available to give you a class. And this is an artistic project that she did. So she's mainly a designer and textile technician, but this was a development of tapestries that she did. And yes, we were lucky enough to be able to show them. These were more her design works. And to highlight such an important figure in our territory. So again, I see another parallel. Here, Bien even issued an award that is dedicated to a long-standing textile artist similar to Graziella. So I think this is also an important role that we have to bring up and highlight members of our community who have been working in this field for a long time and give them recognition and make them known also to the new generations and to the younger people. Ecco. And finally, this is a future project, but it's in the making. It's another form of archive. It's called the Textile Explorer. It's a website that we're creating that collects all the textile samples that are made in our lab and makes them available to a wider public. So you can sign up for this website. It's not online yet. It will be, hopefully, this year still, so we can bring it up for a 10-year anniversary. And you can search, navigate the site, and look what has been made in the lab or what has been made in the district through Lottozero, through the design consultancies, through the residencies, through the use of the workshop, etc. And it's Yes, I just realized it now that he's in a way, he's there. Yes, this Uroš, he was a designer who came to Lottozero in the summer, I think 3 years ago, with the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program. And he stayed with us for 5 months and developed several projects when he was with us. And one of them was this accessory called the Percy, which you can see on our website. And in this case, he used one of our archive materials to create the tag. And why is it there? Oh, digital machine embroidery. Okay, so this was embroidered on our embroidery machine and then applied to the object. Yes, he's a dear friend now. He was here today during the workshop, and I went to visit Center Oak yesterday, so that was very nice. Okay, so this will be a tool. Oh, sorry, that was fast. That will make available all this information online so that our community can see what is being made at the lab, can draw inspiration from it, or learn, educate themselves around textile techniques. It has a very nice system of navigation where you can select several keywords and personalize your research, tons of tags and keywords that allow you to really get into the textile techniques and see what is possible and what can be done at the lab with the tools that we have available. It's also a great way to highlight designers because, of course, a lot of designers come by our space, a lot of artists as well, and this tool will make their work, especially their work in progress, more visible. People will be able to search by the name of the designers and meet and get to know a lot of creatives like this. Okay, yeah. I think that is where I will stop now because I noticed that I've gone a little bit overboard with all my archive inspirations. I just felt like there were so many aspects of this theme that we could talk about. But what I want to transmit mainly is that, yes, working with heritage is a very important part of our job. And the way we like to advance this work is by creating all these moments of different intersections and different interactions. It's a lot about connectivity, it's a lot about community, about bringing people together. It's a lot about being in the right place at the right moment and facilitating this kind of work. So I think here, again, it's something we have in common with Bien. to create this this community around heritage, around knowledge and transfer of knowledge and information. And yeah, once again, I'm very glad that I could be here with you today to speak about it. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be here. We can talk, we can have a chat. And yeah, let me know. Good. Are there any questions? So, wait, maybe I can just, I can leave you with this QR code. This is for the for newsletter sign up if you're interested. And oh, I can also let you know that we have an open call going on right now for a workshop happening on April 7th with the artist Claudie Youngstra from the Netherlands. It's a one-day workshop. It's open call, and we have 10 spaces available, but the workshop is for free. So, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's feasible. You can come to Prato to take part in a workshop if you like. That would be wonderful to see you in Prato. One day. It's from the morning to the evening. Yeah, it's a one-day workshop. April 7th. Yes, it's right after Easter.
Easter Monday.
Yes, it's the day after Easter Monday. Mm-hmm.
She's great.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's a very interesting person. Okay. Thank you, Zala.
I'm interested. We've seen a lot of digital archive, and we've seen digital archive from, like, this is not, this is heritage, right? It's the textiles that were produced in factories.
Yes. Yes.
How do you ever, like, do you make your own physical archive?
Yes. All these samples that we will host here on this website are physical samples that we have at Lottozero. So we're in the process of scanning and photographing everything that's been made so that it's kind of, we have this digital world that completely reflects the physical world that we have there at Lottozero. So that people who are not there physically, I mean, we have a lot of people who are interested in textiles, who are like signed up to a newsletter, following online, and are getting a lot of information. And in this way, they can get even more information and really understand what the tools in the lab, what their capabilities are. Or maybe if they want to come do a residency, they can prepare by looking at all the materials so that they, when they are here, they already know what they want to do. Or, yeah, it's a way to research either before, after, or during also a stay in Prato. Mm-hmm.
So when they leave to leave a sample?
We ask our designers, residents, etc., if they want to leave a physical sample or if they want to leave a digital image and be featured in the archive. This is up to them to say yes or no. But usually they leave something. So we almost have one piece of every person who has done a residence in one form or the other. Yeah.
How do you support Lottozero? Maybe I missed the beginning. Like, is there city of Prato or Italy?
No. No, we don't really have that. It's a mix. I mean, what I presented are services that we provide, so the use of the lab, the residencies, the workshops, the design studio and consultancies. These are all services that we provide, so paid services. Plus, we have a part of European projects and specific fundings for specific projects. For example, the digital archive of our samples is a specific funding we received from the national government. But we don't have like a fixed funding from the municipality or something like that. No.
salaries or so, so you have to work hard.
Yeah.
And the industry, how do you work with the industry? Are they supporting you or how it is?
The industry is very interesting around us. There's a lot. We try to work with them as much as we can, but of course these are companies that are producing usually for the fashion industry or for the interior design or product design world. So when we have small designers, that's part of our job to really go and ask for things and try as well as we can to have them made industrially. That's a struggle that all small clients have, and we try to facilitate. But of course, it always depends on how willing the companies are to collaborate with us.
And I see you have TC2 loom?
Yes, we do. We have the TC2 loom in a medium size, and we've had it since 2 years now. And yeah, we're quite happy about it. Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, we were. It's
About
this.
the sound,
Oh, it's loud. Yeah.
always loud.
Always loud. Yeah, we have several very loud techniques. We're trying to put them in, trying to isolate them, but so far everything is very loud. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, what led to like the founding of Lottozero? Like, what came before that? Like, how did you sort of make the decision to found it? Because it seems like such a special kind of, almost like not unique, but maybe unique. I don't know. It seems like such a special like thing. So, what led you to that?
Well, the space was really important for us to have the space. This was where everything started. This warehouse in the middle of the textile district, it was very, it was the starting point. I was working in textiles. I was working in research and development for a textile company. And my sister, she was working in the creative and cultural industries already. On the side of fundraising and business development. So we fused our interests together and together with the surroundings and very much ideas that were in the air at the time. So the shared working space, shared tools, residencies, sharing of knowledge. I mean, back then we would call it open source, but for us it was much more like organic. It was just the fact that people work together and they share information and they help each other out. So this was very much at the heart of what we wanted to do.
Very nice presentation. I don't know what to say first. Actually, it's connected also to what Armando said. Is there a name for this kind of business model, let's say?
Yes, we are a creative hub. Creative hubs are a relatively new model, but we are also part of the European Creative Hub Network that collects a lot of spaces that operate in this way. So, yeah, it's a fairly new model, but it's definitely something that has grown a lot in the past 10 years. So I think we were very much aligned in the timing of the development of this kind of spaces and this kind of model.
I see. I'm wondering also in kind of, how to say, the Creative Hub, is this like a profit organization?
Usually it's non-profit organizations, yes. We, for example, we are a non-profit organization, we are a cooperative. But every creative hub can have their own, you could be an association, it's not that there is one form. It really depends on where you are, what country, how you set up your model. It can be very different. Creative hub can also just be a room, it doesn't need to be a big space. Mm-hmm.
Did you have your textile technologists working in a group of 6, 7, or because you mentioned textile lab from Tilburg, and so these are
We have Federica, my colleague, she's the lab manager, and she takes care of the tools and the machineries. And I'm a textile designer. I'm the one who works more with the industry partners. And that's about it. Yeah.
I'm curious, when artists come come to Kran, we need to show them, because they're interested, they would like to go to the museum, they would like to know the history, they would like to get all of the information at once about like why textiles, why are textiles important for this area. And we even have like Prato seems to have huge place. We have schools and so on. How do you transfer like this knowledge at first for the residency artists that are coming or just paying? You know what I mean? So it must be exhausting and also time consuming. So where does it start and where does it end and what do you send them? Like when you say, okay, this is
Well,
what kind of impact do you send them?
we don't really have that kind of standardized model. Every project we do is made to measure. So we really need to know from the people who come do the residencies what they want from Prato, what they are interested in. And then we research and we try to give them the best possible connections within the district or even outside of the district, because I mean, sometimes we have to go outside of Prato, we have to go maybe to the north of Italy or more to the south to find the industry that they're looking for. Luckily, we still have a lot of manufacturing companies. But yes, it's impossible to see all of it. I lived in Prato since we started Lottozero, and I'm still almost every week discovering new companies, new people who work in the field, because I move based on the requests that we get. So maybe next week someone requests some technique that I have never worked with, and then I find a new company that works with this technique. So it's really about connecting people in the most specific way possible. Then, of course, a lot of people come to Prato and they say, oh, I'm interested in seeing like textile recycling in general. So we can bring them to a few places, but also then I'm like, which part of textile recycling are you more interested in? There's many aspects to it. And yeah, so that is what we try to do.
Do you have time for your creative work?
Good question. That is, of course, something I think a lot of you also know. When you have your own creative work and then you are involved in a project that is more about facilitating others, you leave your creative work behind a little bit. But I'm trying to take back some time for myself as well, and to develop also more our design studio, which has been not the easiest task, but I think now that we set up a lot of things and we're quite stable, after 10 years, maybe it's the right moment to do so. Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure. And I can... Okay, I can leave you with the website and our info address in case you want to get in touch. Also, I was told today that we still have a lot of spaces for the spring and summer residencies in case you want to come to Prato. And if you have any requests, questions, anything around textiles, you can just let us know and get in touch.
I'll say just over. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Tomorrow we continue with Wool Thready event at 2, right here in this place. And at 6 we're opening a big exhibition upstairs called Knots and Patterns, Collective Memory Landscapes. And you are very much welcome to join us at 6. So thank you again.